TV brings you the Stone Zone with legendary Republican strategist and political icon and pundit Roger Stone. Stone has served as a senior campaign aide to 3 Republican presidents. He is a New York Times best-selling author and a longtime friend and advisor of President Donald Trump. As an outspoken libertarian, Stone has appeared on thousands of broadcasts, spoken at countless venues, and lectured before the prestigious Oxford Political Union and the Cambridge Union Society. Due to his 4+ decades in the political and cultural arena, Stone has become a pop culture icon. And now, here's your host, Roger Stone.
Welcome, I'm Roger Stone, and through a lot of technical difficulty, you are back in the Stone Zone. For some reason, today has been a vexing day in terms of all technology. Could be the NSA or maybe something less nefarious, but I've had internet and cell phone problems all day. But we're going to plow forward with the Stone Zone because, well, money never sleeps and politics never rests. Joining me today is Troy Smith, the editor-at-large at rare.us. And our goal is to try to analyze the important developments in the presidential campaign of Robert F. Kennedy. Troy Smith joins me now.
Roger, it is an honor to be here to talk to you about this again, as we had the chance to talk on your WABC radio show just a week ago. And it's such a major problem that I think a lot of Americans are underestimating, and we're getting a lot of misinformation from on the mainstream media front. So it's an honor to be here to talk about this today with you.
I appreciate your being here. I do want to warn you in advance that if in some reason I should just suddenly disappear, doesn't mean I was kidnapped by the CIA. It just means that our internet has gone down. This has really been quite an extraordinary day. Breaking news, really, 2 things happened last week. One got much more attention than the other. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., scion of the fabled Kennedy family, the grandson of President John F. Kennedy, the son of U.S. Senator and former Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, announced that he was abandoning his efforts to seek the Democratic presidential nomination to run as an independent. But also, less noticed, his campaign manager, the very widely respected former Congressman Dennis Kucinich of Ohio, quietly resigned from Kennedy's campaign. And I know when you contacted him, he declined to comment. Based on what I've read, he has made no comments other than confirming that he left and wishing the campaign well, which doesn't really tell you the circumstances of his leaving. The reason that I think this is significant is because one does not just wave a wand and become an independent party candidate for president. The process of getting on the ballot as an independent candidate for president is extraordinarily difficult, arcane, complicated, time-consuming, labor-intensive, expensive. And I think that it is an area where Kucinich may have provided the campaign some real advantage. What do you think?
Well, Roger, when we're looking at the process that these candidates have to go through to get on the ballot, I think that's kind of the main obstacle for Kennedy. I mean, like you said, as an independent, he's not guaranteed ballot access. And in some states, it's easier than in others, to accomplish what he's trying to accomplish. But basically, what the situation we're looking at is this guy's going to need millions and millions and millions of Americans to sign petitions that are really, I mean, you want to talk about tough standards. These petitions that they use to get people on the ballot they have some of the strictest standards you'll find as far as approval process when it comes to signatures and things like that. And how interesting that on the front end, when we're trying to, get candidates on the ballot, those signatures and everything about those, petitioners, they are completely, they're studied. We make sure exactly they're exactly who they say they are. But when it comes to the ballots and the votes, they seem to be not as serious about it. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. But no, seriously, the toughest part of this for RFK is going to be getting on the ballot. And I just don't see where he has the manpower or the monetary resources to make that happen, Roger, because we're talking about millions of signatures that are going to be, maybe a 50% throwaway rate. So, millions upon millions of people would have to sign the petition. And, in this case, you're looking at, okay, the voters, where are they going to end up on this? And I think, the narrative put out there by the mainstream media that RFK will pull more from Biden. He will pull more from Biden than for Trump is just completely false, Roger. I mean, if this guy was pulling the amount of Democrat support that the people on Fox News tell you that he would still be running as a Democrat, but he's not. He's dropped from the independent, or he's dropped from the Democrat side. He's now running as an independent because he's found that his support is not really on the Democrat side. I mean, this is a guy that peaked at 19%. So the move to become an independent by RFK has been done because he did not do well with the Democrat voter base. And the conservative news response to that seems to be, well, RFK will pull more from Biden. And I'm just not seeing the evidence for that conclusion anywhere, Roger.
I don't disagree with you, Troy, although I do think it's kind of too early to say. By that, I mean RFK is defined by his appearances in mostly conservative media, which is why voters may have a distorted view of him. He's defined by his opposition to the COVID-19 vaccination. He is defined by his favorite closing the border. He's defined by his skepticism about further big funding for the war in Ukraine. But there's a lot more to him than that, is there not?
Oh, there's a lot more to this guy, Roger, and that's an effect that we've seen. Kind of looking at this guy's record, it is like an amazing thing because if you watch the coverage of him, you would get the idea that he's really conservative. And you look back on his record, and this is a guy that's pro-abortion. He's recently come out and said that as president, he wants to bring reparations. I mean, you can't get more liberal than that. I mean, Roger, we're talking about a guy that's pulling conservative votes that supports reparations. And I think that leads to what you were talking about just there about the coverage on Kennedy has been about his stance on Ukraine, has been about his stance on the vaccines. But we've kind of forgotten that this is a guy that endorsed Hillary Clinton. This is a guy that endorsed Al Gore. This is a guy that has endorsed some of the worst people in American politics. And the idea that he just forgot all of that because of Ukraine and the vaccine, I think is a little ridiculous. And I think the problem for a lot of the people that are supporting Kennedy out there is they may not have looked into his past and to see that, yeah, when it comes to climate change, when it comes to the Green New Deal, there's really no distinction made between Greta Thunberg and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Their agendas pretty much align. And the truth is, if this guy were to become president, he's going to take action to ban fracking, just as Joe Biden has. He's going to take action against gasoline cars, just as Joe Biden has. So as far as the economic and climate agenda kind of rolled into one, there's not much difference between Joe Biden and the Democrats, Greta Thunberg and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I guess the average American just doesn't really, or is not really aware of how hardcore liberal RFK is on a lot of these energy issues, because this is an issue that the American people care about very deeply. Most Americans spend a lot of time in their vehicles. They spend a lot of time in their homes that are, powered by all of these fossil fuels that are made to be the enemy. And it's really a strange position for a lot of Americans to be in, Roger, because we have a guy that wants to take away our energy, take away our independence, and he's polling well with conservatives because of a few key issues. I mean, I don't know. I've only been around for a few years here, Roger. You've been around a lot longer than me, and I'm interested to see, have you ever seen a candidate like, do you think that Robert F. Kennedy is comparable to Ross Perot when it comes to policy and things like that? Have you ever seen a candidate with this kind of makeup before?
Well, I would have to be candid and tell you that I like Robert F. Kennedy as a candidate. Now, I don't like all of his views, obviously. I disagree on a great many of his views. But I think he is energetic. I think he is positive in his rhetoric, uplifting, talks a great deal about unifying the country, which God knows we certainly need. So I don't think that he's a bad person. But I do think, particularly on the energy issues, where gasoline prices and oil and energy independence are Donald Trump's signature issues, there's nothing in Robert Kennedy's resume that would indicate that his energy policies are any different than Joe Biden's, which is to deny all drilling and fracking permits, to cut off energy exploration in the Antarctic, and to go on bended knee to Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and others for oil. And we know, and to Russia for that matter. So we know how that works not very well. The other thing that I thought was surprising was not just the departure of former Congressman Kucinich, who I feel, who I know, not well, but I know, but who I do admire as an anti-war Democrat, as a man of principle, as someone who has stood up to the deep state. But the other interesting thing is that Kucinich has been replaced by Robert F. Kennedy's daughter-in-law, Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, who the internet tells us is a former CIA agent with no prior political experience. I find this strange from 2 points of view. One, because RFK has been very direct about what he believes was the role of the CIA in the murder of his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And secondarily, how does Amaryllis Fox Kennedy expect to go about the process of getting Robert Kennedy on the ballot in these extraordinarily arcane processes? And let me say, before I finish that thought, in states like New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio, there are lawyers affiliated with both the Republican and Democratic Party who specialize in the ability to utilize the law to knock candidates off the ballot. That's their specialty. That's what they do. And Robert Kennedy not only has a high mountain to climb in terms of submitting clean, accurate, legally viable petitions, but he also has to ensure that those petitions survive inspection and legal challenge. Go ahead.
No, it's very serious, Roger, and I think people need to understand that this is no small effort, and that's just something that has come across in this research again and again. It's something that people need to understand, that getting on the ballot as an independent candidate is no given, and when we're looking at the process and the amount of money that it would take to get into a state like Texas or any of these other places where you have millions and millions of people, I mean, we're talking about a serious effort that I don't think he's capable of achieving. And when you have the departure of some of the more seasoned political people, and then you have an entrance of people who have ties to the CIA, I think the American people have to ask the question, what's going on here? And I think, the threat of RFK is switched for me. I think he got conservative media coverage because we were, looking at this guy and saying, okay, this is a challenger to Joe Biden. And he very openly challenged Joe Biden and some of the core policies that Biden has made part of his administration. And now, as an independent, the question really becomes for the American people, do you think that this guy is going to pull more Democrat support or Republican support? And the answer is he's going to pull support from President Trump. He's going to pull support from the America First candidate, and he's not going to pull away from Biden. Again, folks, if this guy was pulling Democrat support, he would still be running for president as a Democrat. He's not doing that anymore, Roger. And when you look at the threat that poses to Trump, if he's able to gain access to the ballot in some of these states, which, like you said, is a big if, you have to start asking the question, is this campaign another cut by the death by 1,000 cuts that we're seeing from the establishment political class that's mounting every attack they possibly can against former President Donald Trump heading into this election? Whether it's by indictment, whether it's by arrest, whatever they have to do, these people have shown that they're going to come after Trump. And it seems to me that Kennedy is almost like a last-ditch effort. And it's going to be interesting, I think, for me to watch this, for everybody at home to watch this too, and to look and see, okay, you're talking about, these lawyers that are their job is to prevent people from getting on the ballot. Now, if if we know what we know about Joe Biden, we know what we know about the political establishment, we know they're going to be trying everything within their reach to stop Trump from becoming president in 2024. So one thing you could easily have them do is use these lawyers and go after RFK if he represents a danger to anybody but Trump. And I don't think you're going to see that, to be honest with you, because the Democrats, the best thing that could possibly happen for them is that RFK gets on a ballot in Florida or Texas or any of these states that have been getting a little closer over the years, and he really could pull enough from Trump to sway the state. And I know we're talking about something that is like really far-fetched considering the lengths this guy has to go to get on the ballot. But if you're looking at this from the point of view of the Democrat political establishment, RFK getting on the ballot could be a huge piece of their 2024 election strategy to pull votes away from Trump in any way that they can.
Yeah, it is certainly conceivable that he is a ringer. The last time you and I were together to talk about this, we reviewed the results of a Zogby poll. Zogby was in this case polling for a super PAC that specifically worked was a pro RF Kennedy super PAC, and that poll showed a disproportionate amount of the votes that Kennedy polled did indeed come from Trump. Now we have a second major credible poll. This is the Marist College poll, commissioned by National Public Radio and PBS, nobody's idea of legitimate news outlets, by the way, the news hour, meaning the fake news hour, but a credible poll nonetheless that showed in a two-way race, Biden maintained a 49-46 lead over Trump with 5% undecided. First of all, I find that hard to believe because it would contradict every other major poll and the daily average polls that are pulled together by Real Clear Politics. But more importantly, in a three-way race, Biden's support drops to 44. Trump's support sank all the way to 37, with Kennedy receiving 16% of the vote, with a very small undecided at 3%. This particular poll was conducted October 11th of 1,218 registered voters. So this tends to bear out what you are saying, which is the fact that Kennedy pulled disproportionately from Trump.
Oh, exactly, Roger. And when you're looking at the facts here, and it's important for people to realize that we're talking about somebody with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, I respect his policies on Ukraine more than just about anybody. I respect his policies on the vaccines, and I respect his positions on those things. But, you know, we're looking at somebody when it comes to the climate, because climate is the climate change thing is such a huge push. It is forming the Democrat agenda on the economy. It forms the Democrat agenda on basically everything, because their overall statement, the overall thing that they're claiming is that the world is going to end. And it's going to end because the temperature is increasing by less than a degree per 100 years. I mean, that's where we're at with these people. But the point is, RFK is a guy who has said publicly that climate deniers and people who deny climate change should be arrested for saying that. So I look for people that are candidates of principle. And that's why I like Donald Trump, because even though the entire, political class went against Trump, even though they had tried to stop everything that he was trying to do, he stood tall and he stood to his message and he stuck to his guns and he delivered results for the American people. I happen to believe that he delivered those results for the American people precisely because he stuck to his guns, not because he listened to the political establishment, not because he went back on his values. And with somebody like RFK, who I know has a hardcore belief in the Constitution, who you can listen to talk so eloquently about the Bill of Rights and things of that nature, for him to come out and say that he's for the arrest of climate deniers shows that agenda above all. It shows that when it comes to policy, when it comes to how this guy is actually going to treat the American people, it's politics over actual decency and believing and sticking to your guns and things of that nature. And for those reasons, Roger, before I really went into this, I really was kind of indifferent when it came to Kennedy and looking at some of the things, whether it be abortion, whether it be the energy policies, whether it be the endorsements of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Al Gore, Bernie Sanders, Gavin Newsom, or the fact that a lot of the support that we're seeing for him is coming through this kind of anti-Trump lens, and I think where the deck is stacked right now, where the election's at, where all of this is, Kennedy is a serious threat to us being able to stop Joe Biden from destroying this country. And I understand that there's respect for him in some areas, but at some point you have to say to yourself, okay, is this guy worth destroying the country over? And I think when you look at some of the things here, I mean, look, if this guy was an independent candidate that was totally hardcore and ready to go and America first and all that stuff, I think, he'd be an even bigger threat. But now when you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, he's only a threat to Trump. And the people on Fox News, all those people, they're going to lie to you and they're going to tell you that, oh, he's a danger to Biden. Folks, remember, this is the cleanest fact. If you're going to take away one thing from this show, it should be that RFK left the Democrat primary because he was struggling to pull Democrat votes. So the idea that he would pull votes from Biden and not Trump is wrong. Roger just read you the poll that shows you that Trump will lose more votes because of RFK than Biden will. And that's exactly what this establishment needs. Make no joke about it. Trump's up 10, 11 points in some of these polls, as Roger pointed out. They need an ace in the hole, something final, something in the final stages that they can use to come in and take away the election from Trump. As we know, the support for him continues to just grow and grow and grow, even with these attacks, Roger. So it's kind of an amazing thing that we're witnessing right now.
We interrupt this program with breaking news. Florida Congressman Byron Donalds has confirmed that he will be a candidate for Speaker of the U.S. House. I had reports of this about 2 hours ago, was asked not to go public with that information. It is now a matter of public record. My sources tell me that Donalds, unlike Jim Jordan, does have the votes to succeed in the coming vote. So the Democrats may have their worst nightmare, a strong, tough, articulate African-American Republican who is a true conservative. Let's hope that this does not get undone by the rhinos. A little breaking news for you there. Troy, any reaction?
Well, my first reaction is, it's beautiful that Steve Scalise was stopped. We put out some reports on some of the people that have been giving him money, whether it was Bill Gates or Paul Singer, and a lot of problems there with Steve Scalise. Jim Jordan, I thought, was the best man for the job, but he just, unable to get it done. I think Byron Donalds is an interesting choice. I think that from what I've seen, I have some questions about, is this guy going to be able to get the amount of votes necessary? And I also, Roger, I have this feeling, in my gut really that we're looking at this situation, and I just see the Democrats are unified behind Hakeem Jeffries, and we have so many Republicans that are just so weak and so pathetic. If I had to predict what's going to happen, I'd say you're going to have some Republicans who eventually jump ship and go with Hakeem Jeffries, because they are just so weak. They're so pathetic. They're so lost in the politics of it all that they won't take 5 seconds to look around and realize we're in a time of absolute consequence. We're in a time of absolute war against the American people, and they would rather play the game of politics than to actually do anything about it. And when you're talking about, playing the game of politics, I just don't see that Byron Donalds would be able to get the amount of votes that he would need to become speaker, although I think he would be a massive upgrade from Kevin McCarthy.
Well, again, my sources tell me that the votes may be in hand, but you know the difference between a cactus and a caucus, don't you?
Yeah.
In case of a cactus, all the pricks are on the outside. So you can quote me on that. It's one of the rules, actually. This is a very significant development. First of all, I agree with a couple things. One, never underestimate the stupidity of the Republican Party. Secondarily, never underestimate our tendency to form the firing squad in a circle. It's very interesting. I spoke to the Reawaken America tour event at the Trump Doral Golf Resort last weekend. And at the mention of Congressman Matt Gaetz, Gaetz got an immediate standing ovation. He wasn't even there. All I did was praise him for sticking to principle by moving to remove Rhino Kevin McCarthy, and it brought down the House. So, but that's not the response that he gets inside the Beltway, from what I understand, where he is widely reviled by his colleagues because of his belief in principle. I hope that this report about Byron Donalds is accurate. He is a very, very good man. Let's hold Troy here for a moment and do a quick commercial break, because we here at the Stone Zone, well, we need to pay some bills. Mr. Stone keeps reminding me we need to pay some bills. So, folks, I want to remind you that we are brought to you by the great folks at mypillow.com. Mypillow.com is, of course, the company of that great American entrepreneur and capitalist, Mike Lindell. And hopefully we have loaded this special ad that Lindell made for us.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to get in here and interrupt this great show by my great friend Roger Stone. And what we have is we have the best special ever, exclusive to Lindell TV. And that is, we have everybody knows the towel sets, right? That's a 6-piece towel sets. If you go down to the radio podcast, we've got our, right there they are. It's $29.98. We're closing them out. We're closing out the towels. We have our new Shapir long staple, our new design on the right there. Those are on sale too. But what the exclusive for our listeners and anyone watching Roger's show here, you get, there they are. We're closing these towels out. Once they're gone, they're gone. They're only, I believe there's 3 colors left. 6-piece towel sets. This is what I wanted to do to help out all our great hosts here, and Roger's one of the best. So use the promo code STONE, and you get it for $29.98 for a 6-pack set. Otherwise, you call this number 800-858-0402. Use that promo code STONE. My operators are standing by. You're helping my pillow. You're helping yourself with these great products. And you can keep watching Roger's great show here on Lindell TV. Hello, everyone. I wanted to get in here and interrupt this great show by my great friend Roger Stone. And what we have is we have the best special ever, exclusive to Lindell TV. And that is, we have everybody knows the towel sets, right? That's a 6-piece towel sets. If you go down to the radio podcast, we've got our, right there they are. It's $29.98. We're closing them out. We're closing out the towels. We have our new Shapir long staple, our new design on the right there. Those are on sale too. But what the exclusive for our listeners and anyone watching Roger's show here, you get, there they are. We're closing these towels out. Once they're gone, they're gone. They're only, I believe there's 3 colors left. 6-piece towel sets. This is what I wanted to do to help out all our great hosts here, and Roger's one of the best. So use the promo code STONE, and you get it for $29.98 for a 6-pack set. Otherwise, you call this number 800-858-0402. Use that promo code STONE. My operators are standing by. You're helping my pillow. You're helping yourself with these great products. And you can keep watching Roger's great show here on Lindell TV.
So, folks, please go to mypillow.com and take advantage of that extraordinary closeout sale and use promo code STONE. Whether it is the dog beds, suitable also for cats, or the pet blankets, or the slippers, or the throw blankets, or the waffle blankets, or the bathrobes, which are on a great closeout sale. There are many, many great products at mypillow.com. Well, it helps us pay the bills here at StoneZone.com and keep the doors open. Let's go back to our guest, Troy Smith. Troy, continuing in our discussion, one of the great staples of American politics, of course, at least in people's minds, has been the presidential debate. The Lincoln-Douglas debates are famous in American history and political lore. Many people familiar with the pivotal Nixon-Kennedy debates in 1960, where sadly John Kennedy knew that how you looked was actually more important than what you had to say. It is interesting that in
Well, I think we lost Roger there for a second, folks. But as he was talking about, the presidential debates are such a huge part of the presidential election, and each year we look forward to them as kind of a gauge. But I think what we all noticed last, as far as 2020 was concerned, was that these things have really become a weapon of the political establishment to kind of hammer anybody that they don't see fit. And we saw the debates used against Trump in 2020 with Chris Wallace, who ran one of the most politicized, ridiculous, one-sided debates we'd ever seen. And even in 2016, we looked at the debates and Megyn Kelly trying to set Trump up and all these different people trying to set Trump up. They even had some people from the different Spanish networks and stuff coming on and asking these ambush style questions. And I think, truthfully, the debates are kind of an outdated thing. And what I see when I watch the debates now are politicians making these predetermined, pre-written remarks that really have no basis in reality. And not only that, but when you look at, just say, the Republican debate stage, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis abandoned the state of Florida. Florida is one hurricane away from total annihilation and bankruptcy. Chris Christie had the lowest approval rating of any governor in American history as the governor of New Jersey. Has detailed, prolific corruption with his brother and handing out these multi-million-dollar monitoring contracts to David Kelly, the former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York that failed to prosecute his brother, decided not to prosecute his brother, Todd Christie. Nikki Haley, a UN globalist who, as Roger always says, is George Bush in heels. Asa Hutchinson. I mean, any of these people, their achievements are not only lackluster, but these are people who have actually facilitated the downfall of the United States. So to get them up there on the stage and all dolled up so that they can say a couple pre-written remarks and get an applause line from the donor audience, that's outdated. That is not how things are done in this country anymore. It's not what the American people respond to. And the only people I feel, Roger, that watch these debates anymore are people who are politically inclined, people who want to see, who's doing what. But the average American, I don't think, is tuning into these debates at any level to say, okay, I'm going to watch this and whoever does the best, I'm going to cheer for. No, really, they're just an opportunity for the political class like the Ron DeSantis, the Nikki Haley, to have a big line that they can put in a commercial and use to go out and raise more funds from the American people. And these are funds, by the way, let me add, from this donor class that are never going to be realized. These people don't have a chance of winning the Republican primary, yet they receive millions of dollars in donations because the campaign finance area of this country is the one area of finance that is really not regulated like the private sector or anything else. So these political campaigns, they allow these people to move around millions of dollars and to disperse that money and to send it to whoever they want. It's really like a sick thing that we are watching. It's a show. It's a grand illusion for the American people to buy into. Yeah, I can. And basically, folks, when we're looking at the 2024 election, we're going forward. Trump basically is the only candidate that we have. I mean, you look at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Here's a guy who supported climate change. Here's a guy who is for abortion. Here's a guy who has worked his entire life to make the Green New Deal a reality. I mean, we're talking about somebody who has serious, problems with the American people and has really spent his life being at war with the American people. Joe Biden, look what he's done since he got into office, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody talks about Afghanistan. We're talking about Afghanistan, where 13 Americans died and hundreds of civilians died. And you're going to tell me that that has nothing to do with the violence we see in the Middle East today? I think, of course it does. Of course, arming dangerous terrorists to the teeth with the most advanced military equipment on the world and then leaving, and China comes in and they're using the Kabul airport and all this stuff. I mean, if that doesn't have anything to do with the attacks on Israel, I just can't imagine it, folks. And the craziest part is that we have polls, and just as somebody who looks at the polls, how does Biden have any support? How does he have one person left that's supporting him? Because really, when you look at the policies, I don't think that there's one thing that you could point to in this country today that is better now than it was when Trump was president. Not one thing, not one aspect of American life has improved under President Joe Biden. It's the closest thing to Jimmy Carter we've ever seen. And yet we still have people who are supporting Joe Biden. How does that work exactly? And when you're looking at the past Democrats, Clinton, they talked about him, and obviously, we know how bad Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are, but he was at least able to portray this politician that I guess people could believe that some people related to or something like that. And with Barack Obama, I happen to believe that he's not a very good speaker, but the truth is a lot of people say that he's a great speaker, and when he speaks, they listen and all this stuff. And there was at least this illusion with Joe Biden. I mean, you watch him speak. Last night, if you watched him during the remarks about Israel and Gaza, which he didn't even talk about Israel and Gaza, really. It was only about Putin and Ukraine and how he's going to send troops to Europe. For that, I mean, good luck. Good luck, Joe Biden. You want to send people like me to Europe? You want to send the American people to Europe to fight their wars for them? Good luck with that. It's not going to happen. And for all these people out there that are waving around the Ukraine flags, it's almost like they've completely forgotten about Ukraine, isn't it? Because now that Ukraine has become kind of like a back burner issue, I think that's why we saw Joe Biden last night kind of bringing that up in his speech over and over and over again, because it gives him the opportunity. One, we know how wrapped up Hunter Biden was in Ukraine. I mean, this is where he had the energy company Burisma, where he was on the executive board and things of that nature. And when you're looking at it as a whole, I mean, Ukraine as a nation, it allows Joe Biden. These people got Joe Biden by the balls, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, look, they were paying his son tens of thousands of dollars every single month. And not only that, but Biden worked to get the prosecutor fired, the prosecutor who had seized Burisma's holdings. So not only was the president's son in Ukraine getting tens of thousands of dollars a month for a job in which he had no experience, but Joe Biden actually exercised his authority as vice president of the United States to get a prosecutor fired who had actually targeted the company paying Hunter Biden. But it wasn't Biden that was impeached over Ukraine, it was Trump. And that's something that comes up time and time again, folks, when you're looking at this and you're looking at the entire situation. Biden can literally sit on camera and describe crimes that he's committed, bragging about them, bragging about the criminal activity, and nothing will be done to him. But Trump, who didn't have any criminal activity, he's subject to punishment because the political establishment doesn't like him. They don't like his message. They don't like the damage that he did to the mirage that they had in this country, where people were believing in the political war that was going on. And Trump kind of turned that whole Romney versus Obama, McCain versus Obama, fake wrestling style politics and threw it out the window, and he made it real. And he showed the American people that even if you do elect a president, even if you do work as hard as you can, even if you do get everything going and you get a president and you're believing in it, they will do everything within their power to stop him and remove him from office. And after that, they'll do everything within their power to ensure that he never takes the oath of office again. And folks, the most important thing to remember, whether we're talking about the Democrats of the past, the Democrats of the future, the Democrats always do one thing. They always commit atrocities. They always go after the people, whether it be through segregation, whether it be through slavery, whether it be through the COVID mandates and lockdowns and things like that. They always go after the people, and they always come back afterwards and say, no, that wasn't us. We didn't do that. No, it wasn't us. We didn't mandate vaccines. We didn't threaten employers and tell people that if they didn't mandate the COVID vaccine, we'd take their businesses and put them in jail. No, we didn't say that, but they did. And that's the thing, folks. We as Republicans, if you look at the House of Representatives and what's going on right now in the battle for Speaker, the Republicans are doing, like Matt Gaetz, they're doing a noble thing. They are fighting to ensure that their party and the leaders within their party represent the values of the voter base. The Democrats don't care about that. In fact, the Democrats don't even have values as that's concerned. They'll say anything their voter base wants to hear, whether they actually believe it or not. And at the same time that they do that, and the result of that are these anti-gun policies that leave Americans dead all over the place, whether it be in New York or Chicago or St. Louis or Baltimore. The anti-gun policies leave Americans dead. Then you have the dumb economic policies that ship off all the jobs. And then you have these policies that just introduce crime at a basic level for all these people in our cities, whether it be in Baltimore, where look at Joe Biden's 1994 crack bill, ladies and gentlemen. His own son was smoking crack, not at the time, of course, but his own son is dealing in narcotics. And Joe Biden is the man who sat on the Senate floor and passed the 1994 crime bill, which made it a felony to have even the smallest amount of crack cocaine. I believe he said it was the size of a quarter. This is the hypocrisy that we're talking about. How many lives were destroyed because of that 1994 crime bill? How many lives have been destroyed by Joe Biden since he came into office in the 1970s? I was born in 2000. This guy has been in politics for 30 years longer than I've been alive. And no one asks questions. And that's why we're getting back to the idea that Biden has all this support. Where are the Biden supporters? Do you see Biden supporters lined up on the street with signs cheering for Joe wherever he goes? No, everywhere Joe Biden goes, even places like Maui that have been devastated by terrible events and things like that were basically caused by the Joe Biden administration. Even when he goes to a place like that shortly after the disaster, the people are protesting him because they're not fans of Joe Biden. There's no fans of Joe Biden. Where are these supporters of Biden and his policies? You don't see it. And really what it comes down to, I believe, is that if you are a hardworking American who does things honestly, under President Trump, you did well. And your taxes got lowered. And you were safer, and you actually got something for the money that you were sending to the federal government. Not only that, but you were sending less of it. Under Joe Biden, it's the exact opposite. You're sending more money to the government, and you're less safe, and you have less money in the first place. And that money is worth a lot less, by the way, because of the policies that Joe Biden has brought upon the American people. So when you're looking at this entire situation, ladies and gentlemen, what can we pull away from this? Well, one, Joe Biden doesn't have any supporters. He doesn't have anybody waving the flags on the street corners. He doesn't have anybody that actually supports his campaign. What we do have is Trump. And why do you think that the Democrat establishment is not spending their time out there hammering Biden, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they're the best? Because to the Democrats, and this is something that I've come across during my research here and doing my daily work on rare.us, the Democrats don't have to land a knockout punch. The Democrat strategy is not to come out of the corner swinging. going for the knockout. The Democrats want to kill you by 1,000 cuts. And they don't care where those cuts come from. They don't care how long it is between the cuts. They don't care how many times they have to swing at you in order to cut you. They're going to cut you. And they did that during Trump's presidency, folks. I mean, we talked about it like the Russia hoax, the Ukraine impeachment, all of this. It all kind of culminated, and it was one thing after the other, one thing after the other.